Devlog number 2. I got a lot of really great feedback on the first one of these. It is nice to be able to show this game and talk to people about it now. And I know it's a very niche game, not everybody's into it. That's totally fine. It's been great to hear from those of you who do like this sort of thing. So yeah, I just want it to be the best game that it can be within the particular niche that it is. So anyway, yeah, since last week, bunch of back-end technical stuff that's not extremely showy. I did fix that one problem with the disappearing button there. So lower button disappears when I activate a challenge and comes back when I deactivate it. That's actually correct behavior now, because lore is part of my inventory and the inventory changes on the challenge. Anyway, yeah, so this is a way that I could have text written here. This can be given as a reward for for completing an encounter. I don't know exactly what I'm doing with it yet. I'm sort of just messing with ways that I could include a storytelling medium in here. This is definitely not the final implementation of that. Anyway, so the main focus of what this is a take 2, by the way. I recorded a whole bunch of footage here, then discovered that something I'm doing with the way I'm managing my video is causing OBS to not capture very well. So I've implemented a workaround. Should actually show the right stuff now. Anyway, so since I've solved this encounter, I can go back into solutions here and reload the exact configuration that I had when I solved it there. So once I've solved something once, I can replay that as many times as I want. Anyway, so mostly this last week has been back-end work in support of this thing in the middle. I didn't talk about this at all last time, but I'm going to this time. First, let's talk about these buttons down here. So I can just play the battle. So I click this once, and the battle just plays out at its own pace automatically until it resolves one way or another. I can pause it. I can replay the turn that I'm currently on. So I'm in turn 4 right now. So now that's the beginning of turn 4. This is an imp turn. I can step forward by 1 step in the combat. So using the attack ability is 1 step. And then the warrior receiving the effects of that is another step. I added some damage numbers. So you'll see -2 health coming out of there and also there. So this is meant to be sort of a spatial representation of what's going on in the battle, as opposed to this, which is just sort of a list of champions on each side. Champion is just my term for battle participant. So warrior is a champion, imp is a champion. Each individual that shows up here and here is a champion. So yeah, that's how it's laid out. There's 1 space here and 1 space here, and this is occupied by the enemy, this is occupied by you. Anyway, so not going to talk about this too much just yet, but right, so I can step forward by 1, go to the next turn. I can just play out... Let's see, what will this do exactly? Okay, so that plays the whole turn at once. I'm not satisfied with this system. The way you would normally use this is like, at the start of the battle, you go to the beginning of a turn and that just plays out that 1 turn and then stops. So it's like the play battle button, but it stops at the end of the turn instead of the end of battle. And then step forward just does 1 step at a time, so I can do this at whatever pace I want to do. Here, I'll do it with the mouse so you can see me clicking. So anyway, that's how I can control the battle. I can replay the turn, I can replay the whole battle. Anyway, this is how I find myself usually doing it. Button through this real quick. You can button through it even quicker with next turn. If I hit this twice, it'll just skip through the whole turn all at once. Doesn't sound very good, but it's quick. Anyway, so this is adding a spatial component to the battles where none existed before. So this is the layout of the battlefield. This will make more sense if we go into another encounter with more participants in it. So right here, I'm satisfied with some of these sounds, not that particular one. That one is supposed to be, hey, you're starting a battle that you haven't solved. I don't like the way that comes out, but most of the other sounds are fine here. I'm going to redo some of them. A lot of the graphics are getting redone. Yeah, so lots of topics I want to talk about here. I'll probably do a whole episode on my graphical system and visual style, where it is, where it's going, the sound system, all that. Today's focus is just on the test encounters that I have in my test scenario here. Because like I'm saying, I'm doing a fundamental shift from a list of champions versus a list of champions to something that has a spatial layout to it. So here's how this works now. The targeting. So warrior here, let me give you a sword. With a sword, I can take the attack action. I can take that without a sword if I want. Just have you punch or whatever. Attack can target self, first ally, or first enemy. I can tell you to target those, but it won't actually work. So that all of the multi-target hitting things are disabled. So what first enemy means is that when you're attacking, sure, I'll give you a sword. You should have one. No reason not to. Targeting first enemy just means the first one in this list that's alive. So this one here. So you will hit this imp over and over with your sword until it dies, or you do. And then once this one is gone and out of the way, like this is how it look in the fight screen. If your health goes to 0, then you'll start hitting this one because that's out of the way. So essentially it's as if these are all just laid out in a row, this one in front of this one. If I had more participants, this one in front of this one in front of this one. And you can only reach the frontmost one. Unless you're using something like a fire spell, which can target multiple things. So now I can target self, first ally, all allies, first enemy, all enemies, or everyone in the entire battle. So yeah, that fire spell can hit whichever one of those I want. However, what I cannot do right now is tell anyone, whether, a sword user or a magic user or anything, to target just this imp and nobody else, because it's out of reach. So I was never really satisfied with that. It's valid. I could build the puzzles around it, but I just was never happy with the way that it worked. So I was doing some yard work one day and had the idea that I really just wanted to do something with, a spatial layout here. This would make more sense if I had like multiple rows here, but imagine, 2 imps in front and they have some sort of mage buddy behind them or something. Who, I'd have to go through both of these to reach the healer in the back, unless maybe I had a ranged ability that had, the ability to reach across a row. So you have rows of battle here. I don't have a way to assign my own champions to different battlefield slots yet, but I will. So presumably you'd put the mage behind the warrior. Mage would have a ranged attack and would be able to hit these, but the imps would not be able to reach it. Anyway, so what this means is it's a pretty major design change to the core mechanics of the game, and it's going to pretty much invalidate all of my test encounters here. Everything that I'm showing here is just a throwaway test setup, so I can just sort of see the mechanics of the game. I have some more real fleshed out scenarios that I'm working on. I'll probably avoid showing test scenario 2 for now because that one might turn into something a bit less testy. But test scenario 1 is just completely throwaway. I can show all of this. If you don't want mechanics spoilers, then some of the rest of this could probably be skipped, but this will not spoil any actual puzzles that'll go into the final game. Oh, because I went to the scenario screen, I reset this. Oh, I should change that. Because if I go back now, if I go back now, then that still remembers the setup I had here. Interesting. Yeah, there's no reason that wouldn't be set up if I went all the way back to the other screen. Anyway, doesn't matter. So, right, today's activity, because all of these puzzles are going to be getting invalidated by my change from a list to an actual battlefield with spatial information on it. I thought it might make sense to go ahead and go through all of these puzzles and see how they are now. Then we can see how they change when there's an actual space and I can lay my champions out differently. So targeting is going to have to change so that I can target, say, the sword attack would have a range of 1. So I'd be able to reach anybody in the first row and be able to actually choose which one I am targeting rather than just the first one. But if it only has a range of 1, then it couldn't reach anybody back here. But then say I had an archer on my team, I could put them way back here, their bow has a range of whatever, enough to be able to reach the thing back here and actually target that specifically. So targeting, instead of just being whatever enemy you can reach, would be an enemy in this specific row, or perhaps a specific enemy in this specific row. It does get a little weird since you're making all the decisions up front, and selecting whoever you want to target is going to change when they die and somebody else takes their place, but that's just part of the puzzle, part of how you'll put it together from a plan on this screen. Anyway, so let's get this encounter done. Let's say I would cast fire on everybody. Oh yeah, I did fix this thing where if I point at this, it says decreases health by 3 because you have 1 target. If I change this to target all enemies, now it actually says 2, like it's supposed to. So that'll do 2 damage to both of these, so that's 4 damage total per mage turn. Warrior is going to attack once, take 2 hits, potion himself, take 2 hits, and attack again. Let's see how that goes. So I have a current turn indicator here. I have damage numbers, which also applies to... right, hold on, let's look at this. So you're using a potion. The individual turn steps of casting a spell consist of spending the energy, so that was a -1 energy, taking the action of casting the spell, and then each target receiving the results of that. So you're casting fire on these 2. That one gets it, that one gets it. So each one of those is a separate turn step. Anyway, yeah, so you're going to take some more damage and attack again. Managed to kill your first opponent. So now first enemy would target this. I'm going to lose this battle. Oh no, I'm not. Mage still had some energy to cast another fire spell. That's fine. Oh geez, text. Gotta fix this. Haven't done that yet. Yeah, so part of this is just because I want more space for this stuff. I probably won't have a textual combat log like this. For one thing, this needs to scroll. For another thing, you should be able to go back further than... wow, this went on for 12 turns. That was kind of a long one. Should be able to go back farther than the current turn. Lots of things I want to change here. But anyway, by making this the primary view and making it possible to hide some of this stuff, I can have battlefields with more than 4 participants on each side and still have room for almost this much text. Anyway, so yeah, this is as much of a visual layout thing as it is a design thing. But yeah, for now, just showing how this works now and kind of in the transition to the spatial layout. So, Encounter 3 has 3 imps. Don't have a lot of exciting stuff going on yet. For clearing that one, I received a Venom spell. I can drill down in here and see it applies the Venom status for 8 turns. So status effects will be a thing. Costs 2 energy, where this fire spell only cost 1. Can target anything. And the Venom status will decrease health by 1 per turn at power 0, but the power is the actor's focus stat. It's complicated. I need to make this a little friendlier and easier to understand. Haven't figured out yet. Haven't figured out how yet. So, if we try just the standard thing... Oh, I also got a piece of armor. Yeah, another thing I need to make clearer. Armor increases endurance by 1. And Imp's attack is physical. But I don't quite have all the information in there yet to link the fact that when you have 1 endurance, that will dampen physical damage by 1. That's what it does, but yeah, that's things like this. I have to really pay attention to this to make this a true complete information game, to make it very clear that that is the effect of endurance. And that can change from scenario to scenario. A lot of this stuff is, it's an arbitrary list of stats, arbitrary abilities. There's a lot of flexibility in the game engine that I've made here, but that's the thing to talk about for another day. Anyway, so Warrior, you have a sword, you have some armor, you could have a potion, but what if you didn't? If you just attack all the time and the mage instead equips the potion, So with the armor, you're going to take 3 hits of 1 on the first enemy turn. They all have the same speed, so they'll go one after another. So I think you could perhaps equip a Venom spell, cast it on all of your enemies, then give your warrior buddy a potion. So potion on first ally, then go back to casting Venom on everybody. Warrior's just going to attack forever. Let's see how that goes. So everybody gets venomed. Let's actually pause this and step one thing at a time. So you get venomed, you get venomed, you get venomed. So this status, you now have venom. Health decreases by 2 per turn because you had 1 focus. That was the power. That's how much. Right, and I can look at this. My cursor did something funny there. I need to fix that. This also happened to take 1. Every time I do one of these, I see so many things I need to change. This is actually very useful for me, just to have to talk about my game and show it, and then I see many problems that are not obvious to me otherwise. Anyway, so you all have Venom status. So on your turn, you're now going to take 2 Venom damage at the beginning of it. Then you'll do your attack. He takes 1 damage because he's wearing armor. You'll take 2 damage, do your attack. Oops, that was a back button. Okay, well, let's start over, I guess. So yeah, you can play this with mouse or keyboard or gamepad. I find gamepad the most comfortable. I'm tuning it to work on any of those. Theoretically, it would work with touchscreen. I tried building it for my phone once, and it would need some UI tweaks to be comfortable, but it is operable. This is looking pretty good. Alright, so you all get 2... Wait. Oh, I assigned this to only apply to the first enemy. I think I'll still win, though. So yeah, Venom's pretty powerful. Wizard Hat was my reward for that. The Wizard Hat is a thing that increases focus by 1. Focus determines, at least the way I have this set up now, the power of spells. So fire adds the actor's focus stat to its power. So if I were to just put this on now, those venoms would now do 3 damage each. So you'll take 3 damage now. I don't need to go back into this encounter though, because I've won it. So encounter 4, with a single giant. So giant has a big health pool. Got 30 health. Not equipped with anything. Has an attack that'll do 3 damage. And will attack every turn. So, pretty standard stuff. Give you the armor. Probably, I could give you the potion, but again, perhaps it would be better for the mage to give it to you. Because you do 3 damage per attack, warrior has 6 health, and is wearing armor. He'll only take 2, so he'll survive for 2 turns. I currently own 1 potion, okay. So if you just attack forever, you do Venom again, have a Wizard Hat so it's stronger, have a potion so that you can just Venom, potion. This might get it done. So you get the 1 Venom. I really want to stack those up as early as possible so he'll be taking as much damage as he can on every one of his turns. So the thing with this is it does mean he'll be attacking when he takes that damage. So potion you so you'll survive for a bit longer. Mage no longer has anything to do, has no energy left, has no items left, so just fails to cast and waits. And there we go, I win with everybody alive. The scenario is now complete, at least the campaign. I got Test Lore 2, so now I can go and read this amazing text that I've written. I wrote this just to show that scrolling works. I don't have a scroll bar yet, but you can scroll up and down in this. Anyway, again, haven't figured out what I'm doing with this system yet. So those are all the campaign encounters here. There are also puzzles. So standalone things have their own inventory. I have 2 champions here. Oh, by the way, right, those buttons there. This won't be easy to see there, but if I go to, like, this, these buttons are here just so you can reorder your party. So assign the mage to the front spot if you want. Anyway, you wouldn't want, but you can if you want. So, fighting a giant again. He has a sword this time, and is going to do 4 damage per hit. I do have some armor I can put on my mage, but that'll take you down to 1 health on the giant's first attack. So, when I fought it before and used venom, the mage who used venom ran out of things to do very quickly. You're going to die during this encounter, probably. So you want to just dump as much venom onto that giant as you can while you're alive, and then just let yourself die because it's going to happen and there's nothing you can do about it. Oh, I have 2 potions. Hold on, there might be something you can do about it. So if I give both of you a potion, warriors have 2 item slots, mages have only 1. So you'll potion yourself after the 2 venoms. You will potion him after 1 fire spell. Mages have a strength of 0, so while they can attack, they won't do any damage unless they're equipped with a sword, and I don't have a sword available here. So the only damage that I can do to this giant is with magic. So you want to fire, then potion your friend, then fire again forever. I guess I haven't talked about this. This is a loop boundary. So if I just leave it on the default, you'll do these 3 actions, then loop around to the starts. But I can say, increase loop starts, and now when you get to the end, you'll loop back around to the fire action, so you'll just do that forever. This is another thing that's going to have to be completely redesigned with the new battle grid layouts. Yeah, and I've laid this out so that they're one in front of the other. Not that it makes a mechanical difference yet, but that's what that layout would look like. So 2 venoms are up. You're at 1 health. You get the first potion that way. Giant takes some damage, attacks again. Second potion keeps you alive for longer. And then fire for a little bit of extra damage. But the venom's doing most of the work. And he just barely dies before the first mage does. Alright, so that's the first puzzle. Second puzzle also involves 2 mages and an ooze. So ooze again has 30 health, has a spew ability, which will apply venom to all of its enemies. So everybody on my team is going to get a venom. It will spew and then loop on wait forever. So it will spew once and that's all. So I just have to kill it before venom kills me. I have a wizard hat, a venom spell, a haste spell, and a slow spell. So I have some time magic here. If I just go into this battle, ooze will spew, we get venomed, and die pretty quickly from the venom. So essentially we get the first 2 turns, then the 2 turns that after venom is applied, and then nothing else. So you don't get a lot of turns here to survive. So somehow I have to get this done before you all die. The way to do this, and venom is my only attack spell, so only one of these mages can actually do any damage. The one who does that should probably have the wizard hat. So you're just going to cast venom as many times as you can, which is twice. I don't actually like this puzzle because it's a very specific solution and it has kind of a bit of misdirection in it. Again, these are all throwaway test encounters. I could try to haste the idea is you want to haste the enemy and slow yourself. So you do something like slow all party members, haste the ooze, so that it will take a lot of turns with its venom and die from it. And we won't take too many from ours. We can slow down and not let the ooze's venom kill us too quickly. So you get haste. Oh, by the way, let's redo this. So if you watch this turn gauge, so ooze gets a turn here, gets a turn here, gets a turn here. So turns 3, 6, and 9 belong to ooze. When haste is applied, this changes. Ooze then gets turns 3, 4, 7, 8, and 11, and something more down here, I'm sure. A lot of the work that I've done this week had to do with the way I am calculating the state of the battle, what actually happens here is that at the beginning of the turn, the entire turn is calculated all at once. So at this point in the game, the state of my champions is known at the end of this turn, but stepping through each one of these needs to act like it's in the middle of the turn. So for, the energy amount, where you are in the turn gauge, where you are in the battlefield, if you're still alive or not, all of that stuff had to update a different way. Anyway, so I was doing a lot of back-end work just to make that all work in a nicer way. It's all good now, but it was complicated. I'll get into the technicalities of the code more later, but this one's about level design. So anyway, you're going to spew, you've taken some damage, you'll get another turn. You'll get another turn, get another venom on the ooze. Now you're going to slow yourself. So the ideal, you're slowing all of us actually. So let's pause this. -2 speed, expires in 5 turns. -2 speed, +3 speed. I need to do some stuff so you can actually inspect what the speed value is doing. We'll get there eventually. So ooze gets 2 turns. And then we each get a turn, which means we die. So the way you actually do this is you don't cast haste at all. Again, don't like this puzzle. You just don't cast haste at all. There's no really good way to delete an action from here. I can move it over there and then delete that way. I should change that. Anyway, so you want to cast haste only on yourself because it's stronger when single targets. Just like the fire spell, the effect is reduced if you multi-target with it. So you get slowed right away. You'll get fewer turns. They get spewed. Now Mage 2 has not gotten a turn yet. The ooze has. So Mage 2 gets their second turn. Gonna take some venom. Cast slow again. So now Mage 2 is getting turn 11 and turn 15. So let's see. Your speed is currently 3. With 2 of these, your speed is reduced all the way down to 1. Everybody else in the battle, well, you have speed 5. Yeah, everybody else in the battle has speed 5, so they'll go 5 times as often. Mage 2 is off the bottom here, not even taking another turn. So I'll step forward, Mage 1 gets a turn, and dies, so you'll see all the Mage 1s go away from this list. The Mage 2 would get turn 16, but now that Mage 1 is gone, it's just ooze and Mage 2. So that's how much... yeah, exactly. So 5 ooze turns per 1 Mage 2 turn. And that's how you get this done. Again, I don't like this puzzle. It's just a test of time magic to show concepts like this. Alright, cool. Yeah, something like that could be interesting, but just on its own, it's not too great. So that's all of this scenario. I could show challenges, but I think they'd take too long. Right, so that one is the same as this. You just do this first. This one's the actually interesting one. You get to use the time magic during the encounter, the campaign, but yeah, let's not do that now. So anyway, yeah, so that's the state of my test puzzles. Not going to show test scenario 2, because I think this might get built out into something more real. But yeah, these are just here to have a test that I can play with and talk about and stuff. And yeah, next week, I don't know if this change will be done by then. I kind of doubt it, because this is a bit of a hefty thing to do. I'll probably be in the middle of it. It'll take maybe 2 or 3 weeks before this is all the way in. But when it's there, I can show how that changes the game, and I'll have plenty to talk about in the meantime. Alright, yeah, so I'll see you next week. I'll try and keep these weekly for as long as I reasonably can, just see how that works out. Next week I'll probably talk about my graphical subsystems and visual style and stuff. I'll see you then.